What is a plunger system and how does it work? Great question. So a plunger system is installed when the hydrostatic pressure of the fluid column in a well is greater than the reservoir pressure. So for instance, if the pressure exerted by this column of fluid is 2,500 psi and the reservoir pressure is 2,500 psi as well, then it is perfectly balanced and the well will not flow. The hydrostatic pressure created by the fluid in the well must be less than the reservoir pressure in order for the well to flow. Now, the hydrostatic pressure is determined by the height of the column of the fluid. The higher the column of fluid, the higher the hydrostatic pressure at the bottom of the column. The size of the pipe makes absolutely no difference. It could be the size of a straw. It could be the size of the ocean. The hydrostatic pressure will be identical. What I'm saying is, if you had a 10-foot long straw that was full of water, it would create the exact same amount of hydrostatic pressure as being 10 foot deep in the ocean. That's what I'm saying. So you install a plunger system to get rid of some of this water, lowering the hydrostatic pressure and allowing the reservoir pressure to take over and make the well flow. So a plunger is a free-floating piston that runs up and down the tubing in the well. Here you see it moving up, and when it's moving up, it's pushing fluid out of the well and allowing reservoir pressure to come in from underneath. Here you see the plunger at the top of the well and the flow. As that is flowing, fluid is filling into the bottom of the well, decreasing the well pressure. When the well pressure gets to a point or a time, depending on how that's set up, that valve will shut. When that valve shuts, that plunger falls right back to bottom. And then this valve is either set up on a timer or pressure gauge. And when enough time or pressure goes by, that valve will open. And when that valve opens, it opens the well wide open and it launches that plunger all the way up through the well bore, removing the fluid and allowing more oil and gas to come in from the reservoir. So these plungers are a form of artificial lift that are often installed in wells that are a little bit older where the reservoir pressure has depleted. Once the reservoir pressure has depleted, it doesn't take as much water for those wells to stop flowing. It can be any liquid, water, oil, whatever is in the well that creates enough downward force where the well can't flow. These plungers will run multiple times a day. They'll either be set up on a timer or set up on pressure. So when the well builds up a certain amount of pressure, that valve will open. It'll launch that plunger to the surface, remove a bunch of the water and the oil, whatever liquids are in the tubing. That will allow a big influx of gas and oil and hydrocarbons, water to flow in from the formation and fill up the well again. These plungers will run many times a day. So all of our plungers run on timers. Our lease operators figure out how much time needs to go by for the well to build up enough pressure to get the plunger to surface. And when they go out to location, they're given that data. It's all recorded, how many times the plungers ran and how long they ran for, or how long they stayed up and that well actually flowed. And they use that data to fine-tune their timer so they can make the plunger runs as efficient as possible. Now, the one last thing I want to tell you about is the force applied to a plunger to get it to the surface of a well. The well we were on today is 11,000 foot deep, and the plunger that we're going to install on it weighs 10 pounds. So what you are doing is you are launching a 10-pound piece of steel over 2 miles up. And once it gets there, you're holding it there in place. So there is an astronomical amount of force involved when you're talking about launching a 10-pound piece of steel over 2 miles up. Yeah. Anyway, that's how plungers work. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Thanks.